Welcome to the third day of Upstream. This is Growth Day, which is aimed at connecting corporates and startups together and looking at international expansion. That's the theme of today. So we've had Talent Day, Capital Day, and that today, the last day, is Growth Day. So already this morning there have been a bunch of events across the city. And then today there's more things you can do. So there'll be the fireside chats here. There are round tables in the next room, and there's a section called Meet the Buyer, where enterprise buyers and delegates from the UK, the US, and France, you can schedule meetings with them. There's also super connectors happening here after the fireside chats today, and there are more events across the region, so lots to do. I would urge you to download the app. The schedule is also at the back on a board, but in the app you can book meetings and things like that, so it's a good thing to do. Great, that's kind of all the housekeeping stuff. So first fireside chat, we have Pepe here, who is the founder of Fuckup Nights, which is now present in 60 countries around the world, from what I understand. And it's where people share their experiences of failing at work, so failing in business. Before starting Fuckup Nights, you worked on global expansion at Deel and WeWork. So you've got so much experience in different things. So first off, tell us, why did you start Fuckup Nights? In what moment did this idea come to you?
I feel super honored. I'm super excited. That's why I'm loud. But no, super honored and thankful for being part of Fuckup Nights, because it was a bit of chance, a lot of luck involved. Meaning that, as most good things in life, Fuckup Nights got started with friends and tequila. One Friday night we were drinking too many tequilas, if I recall correctly. And we had this conversation along the lines of, are you attending this conference? And we all said, no, how boring, because it's always the same people talking about the same simplistic stories of success. And we said, okay, instead of complaining, let's lead by example. And we shared our most relevant failures, the one that changed our lives. And we loved the conversation, so we decided to share it with friends, but just because it felt right. And nice, not because we had this company or project in mind. So it came by luck in a lot of ways, and because we wanted to do something for ourselves, or as they say in Silicon Valley, to scratch our own itch.
So what was your own personal failure that changed your life then?
Well, I had been an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, when I was 23, 24. Then I went to Spain. I'm Mexican. I went to Spain to work for Telefonica, super boring office job. So I ran out of there and I went back to Mexico to start another company. And I wanted to be the Mark Zuckerberg of Latin America, using technology to change people's lives, Exactly. I laugh at that now, today. And I created this platform, crowdsourcing platform, where Mexicans could write articles, opinion, journalism, doesn't matter, analysis, and people voted. So we created this democratic voice, and the most voted articles went to a print magazine that we gave to people with disabilities to sell them and have a higher income. Already a long pitch, right? Complicated. And I think the main problem with that one is that it was my baby, my idea, and I wanted to really make it work instead of listening to something that the market wanted. And have real product market fit. So from there, all the friction became more and more difficult. Being an only founder with not much experience, as a one-man show, trying to do website and sales and hiring and all that, not having mentors, not having advisors, not knowing the industry, etc., which ended up in 2.5 years of losing friends, girlfriend, money, and here we are.
It's a great learning experience, though. Is that the way you're framing it now in your head?
Yes, it's funny. It's very important that you mentioned that, actually, because I put it in the closet for many years. When people ask me, hey, how is your company going? I was like, ooh, look, an elephant. I didn't want to talk about it. So I didn't learn from it. It was like stigma. It was shameful. But then, thanks to Fuckup Nights, I learned to talk about it, to structure it as a story, so I got the learnings. So it is very important to put yourself out there outside of your comfort zone and share your failures.
Yeah.
Because when you go through the process, you learn a lot.
It is still a big taboo, isn't it, to talk about? So what are some of the lessons you've learned from hearing other people's stories? Are there key themes that run through a lot of the things people come to Fuckup Nights with?
People don't get along. I mean, 90% of the failures are, I had problems with my co-founder, with my employees, with my investors. We just don't get along. It's a matter of expectations, and it's a matter of vision, and it's a matter of work culture, right? And you guys are here to hear about growth. And yes, Fuck Up Nights became the fastest growing movement on the planet, creators movement, meaning an event series. And why and how? I would tell you two tips, two things. One is to create something that really grows. Be very clear on the why, but be flexible on the how. So have a very clear purpose and why you're doing this and where you're going. But then on the how, you can be flexible. So, for example, we wanted to do Fuck Up Nights because it felt right, because of this bliss and because of the vulnerability and authenticity that comes from it. So when organizations, corporations came to us and wanted to sponsor and give money, but they said, but you need to change your name. It cannot be Fuck Up Nights. We said, well, that's a lot of money, but no, thank you. Because we just want to do it the way we want to do it, and this is our purpose, and. But then when people said, I want to hire Fuck Up Nights to change my organizational culture, okay, that's interesting. We can work with that. So being flexible on the how, we created business models, scalability, and all of that. And the key two things for growth that I would recommend, the why, think of authenticity. Show me who you really are. Show me why you care about your cause. And then I can follow you. You're not just other entrepreneur selling bricks or another dating app. And then on the how, be vulnerable. Learn to say, I don't know, but we can co-create together so people can trust you and follow you.
And when we spoke before this, you said, you talked, I liked this, you said about needing to change our collective view of failure and celebrate it as disciplined, educated trying, which I really liked. Can you expand more on why that shift and how we do that as a society?
You're British, so I'm going to quote Sir Richard Branson. I really like the way he puts it, because when he's asked, how were you able to create all these billion-dollar companies under the Virgin brand and umbrella? He says two things. One, I took care of the people. Two, I watched the downside. Taking care of the people, I mean, it makes sense. He explains it very well. He says, train them so well that they can live, treat them so well that they don't want to leave. And then, talking about failure and reframing it as a concept in society, he says, watch the downside. And it's not failing for the sake of failing, right? Failure sucks, it's painful, it's shameful. But it's about understanding risk. It's about watching the downside so we can learn how to fail fast, fail smart, fail cheap. So yes, Richard Branson has failed a lot. But when he fails, he watches the downside, meaning he knows that when he goes into a new venture, if he loses, if he fails, he will lose 1x, one specific measured x. And if he wins, he will make it big, 100x or more. So yes, he failed with Virgin Cola. He failed with Virgin Brides, the wedding dresses, when he dressed himself with, but then his wins are home runs. So you create this portfolio in life of learnings and growth and assets.
Do you think it's also about how founders and leaders can communicate failure within an organization? Creating a culture of it's okay to try? Is that something people have talked about at Fuck Up Nights?
Totally. It's exactly that. There's this concept. When Google created and analyzed their own teams to find what made a high-performing team at Google, a really high-performing team, they couldn't find any correlation other than psychological safety, meaning the teams where people can speak up and say, I don't know, I'm fucking up. I don't think my boss is doing the right thing. We should change. Speaking up. They looked at diversity, size, location, etc. And the only correlation was psychological safety. So yes, when we don't have psychological safety and we have a leader that proclaims that we're innovative, but then punishes people when they try something different, then that's your culture. You punish people when they try something different.
Yeah.
But when you do the otherwise, then you create this virtuous cycle or circle where people speak up, they get the positive reinforcement of seeing that they are not only listened to, but things change, things are implemented. And then other people see it, and then you get the virtuous circle.
Interesting. Last question from me, and then I'll go to the audience. So think of some questions. You talked about failing fast and failing cheap. Can you talk about how our view of failure shifts in a downturn in an economically challenging period? Is it more or less of a taboo right now to be trying something new? How does that shift things?
It's funny. It depends a lot on who you ask. Because if you speak with some investors, they would say, of course, I want people who are seasoned, experienced, and have been through failures, so they know how to avoid certain things that are very dangerous. But some other people might say, oh, no, I just don't want to talk about it and go from it. And I think that the former, obviously, is the better approach. Because it creates the right culture, the right incentives, and openness, transparency, and all the things that you really need for growth, for exponential growth.
Interesting. Do we have questions from anyone? We've got this mic we can throw back to you. Nice.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks so far. Can you elaborate a bit more about what is a good way to share a fuck up, and what's the best way to learn from your fuck ups?
Sorry, the first one, what is it? What?
Can you share what's the best way to share it and learn from it?
Sure. I think, what we've learned at Fuckup Nights is that we are a story of stories. So I would say check out the hero's journey as a storytelling framework. And it's very nice because I could say, I fucked up with a magazine. Or I could say, I come from a small town in southern Mexico, so I had to go through this. And then I studied physics, but I've never done anything related to that, And then the whole hero's journey helps you put things into the right framework, into the right perspective or better perspective. And you end up having many more learnings, especially when you go to what our team calls the fuck up moment, the climax of the story, which is when you actually realized, shit, I'm just digging in the hole and I'm not getting out of here. I failed. And how did you feel? How you made other people feel? How you changed other people's lives? And so that's the fuck up moment. And then afterwards, how you get out of there? What would you do differently if you started over? Those are some of the key questions that we have found that are very important. By the way, we wrote a book. Currently, it's only in Spanish, but we talk about this stuff. And if it sells enough, it will be in English.
Thank you.
When people have finished sharing their stories at these nights, what's the general feeling? Do people feel like something off my chest? What's the general post-sharing feeling?
When we started, I got messages from friends saying, I attended a Fuck Up Night event and yesterday, and today I'm super inspired. And I was like, but you listened to 3 losers, like 3 failures. Why? Or when they shared as speakers. And they told me, because typically when you're in a business environment, it's, I'm super successful, my company's crushing it, you should invest in my, But when you're at Fuck Up Nights, people are vulnerable. So you build a lot of empathy and you connect on a much deeper level.
Yeah.
And that allows for companies to restart, for deeper connections to grow, to find a co-founder. There are many fuck up babies, people who met at Fuck Up Nights and then created babies. So yeah, it is way more humane, and that allows for a lot of powerful things to happen.
Yeah. Do we have another question at the front?
So I have a question around how you expand that, because when we go into international market, there's always some kind of cultural difference and different mentality, and especially in a country where freedom of speech is not that great, then how you overcome these kind of challenges?
What we did was to fuck up ourselves, meaning that we started expanding because people reached out to us saying, hey, I want to replicate Fuckup Nights in my country, in my city. And that wasn't our idea. We were doing it just in Mexico City and having fun. But we listened to the users, to the community. So we said, yes, let's start by create an MVP, platforms, manuals, brand, guidelines, blah. And we launched. And we started actually in Spain, the first city, then all over the world. And we had, just to give you one example of our many fuck-ups because of our ignorance, we had in our operations manuals, you need to have beer in your event. And then Muslim people came to us saying, dude, like, yeah, I can have beer in my event and I'll be in jail. And then culture. Our city number 100 was Tokyo, a culture where people commit suicide because they lost their honor after a failure. So yes, we understood that we need to be very decentralized and loose when it comes to the specific how. Again, being clear on the why, being flexible on the how, so people can actually adopt it, localize it to their own culture, and we learn from them. We just give them a certain structure, and we adapt to the local communities.
Mm. We can probably take one quick last question. Do you want to pass over here? Then we'll have to wrap up. But
yeah, just a quick question on your business model. So when you go into a country, is it limited to exclusivity for one person that's franchised to say, like for instance, Canada, where I'm from, if someone's opened in Toronto, would that person have exclusive rights to that province, for instance?
We lose money from coordinating the global movement. So what we do is that we have a licensing model. We charge monthly to the teams that have the rights to organize in a certain city. But we lose money from that. We just have a price to help filter people, the right interest, the right culture, and so on, and the right profile. Where we make money to sustain and scale the whole thing is from a Robin Hood model. So we work with corporations mainly, also countries, governments, and foundations, and etc. But mostly corporations on their organizational culture. So we give them events, workshops for skill development and consultancy content. So we work a lot with culture teams, HR, executives, leadership, to strengthen an organizational culture towards innovation, collaboration, and resilience. And we'll then take those profits and reinvest in the whole brand and movement, and we keep going like that.
Cool. Are you, because maybe people have more questions, but we're out of time, will you be sticking around for a bit today?
Sure,
so people can catch you. Cool, great. It's kind of a paradox to be talking to you about failure in the context of a successful movement, but thank you. That was great. Really, really interesting.
Thank you, Freya.
Yeah.
Thank you.